and welcome back to another video with your two favorite book nerds, Amy
and Kelly.
And today we're going to be talking about one of our latest book experiments. Since it's back to school season, we decided it would be pretty fun to try and read books that are set at a school. And so we read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides.
I don't know.
We're butchering it. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
look up the pronunciation. And Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, which I believe this was her first venture into adult fiction.
That's what they call it.
Yeah. That's so nice.
It isn't.
Yeah. No, it's not. And I said that in my vlogs as well, which
I
you'll
did
see.
too. I did too.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we start doing our little discussion here, we're going to send it on back to our past selves because we got some vlogs that we took while we were reading these books for you guys.
Sorry.
Sounds like you're going to love Kelly's. They were a grand, she had a grand time reading these books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure did. I was not. I don't think I was. I don't think I was mean.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But
We'll
anyway,
see.
alright,
You'll see.
Yeah. Let's throw it back to past Amy and Kelly, so see you soon. Alright guys, so I'm going to try and do better about vlogging in this video than I have in videos past. Sorry, my little succulent guy's in the way, but I just pulled up to the library and I'm going to go in and get books for Kelly and I's next experiment video. I don't know what you want to call it. I wanted to do like a back to school theme for our video since everyone's going back to school now, so I thought it would be kind of cool to do something like that. And books set in a school. So I am excited. Let's go see if I can find me some books. Alright, I am back from the library hunt, and as you saw from the clips, found the books and realized that I cannot for the life of me spell. Like, I was looking for so long for this one, but oh well, it's fine. I'm a natural blonde, so it just makes sense. Yeah, I hope that The Maidens is different. I really don't know too much about the book. All I know is that it's something about a secret society of college girls called the Maidens, and they think that the professor's a murderer, and yeah, something like that. So it sounds interesting. I didn't want to read too much about it because I am not someone who tends to read the synopsi of books. I kind of like to go in blind to all of them and then just let my brain decide what it thinks of the book and whatever, but yeah, should be good. And then Ninth House, I'm really excited about. This has been on my TBR for a long time. I've always wanted to get into Leigh Bardugo's writing. I hope it's good, and then I'll continue on the series if it is. So, yeah, definitely is. There's a thick boy. It's like 400 pages. 450 pages. It's a thick with 4 C's kind of a book, but it's alright. I'm gonna try and get her done. But anyway, it is hot in here, so I'm gonna start my car and get going because I also have to go and get stuff ready for my garage sale today. Hopefully it goes well. But anyway, I gotta go get all of that done and, you know, before I melt away in this heat. So anyway, we'll see you guys when it comes time for reading. Okay, so update time. I am about halfway through Ninth House right now, and for some reason I am just not getting into it, you know, like I feel like I'm moving through it pretty quickly. It's not one that I've really like slogged through reading, but at the same time, like I just don't feel like I really care. I don't know, I think I'm finally just now starting to come around a little bit to having more like emotion and feelings and stuff for the characters. I love Darlington. Like, he hasn't been in the book like very much at all, like just little snippets here and there in a few chapters, like flashbacks and stuff like that, because he's currently missing. But just like the little bits that he has been in the book, like I love him. He reminds me a lot of Thomas Cresswell in Stalking Jack the Ripper, that whole series by Carrie Maniscalco. Yeah, there's a character in here called Thomas Cresswell, and he is so similar in my opinion to Darlington here in Ninth House, which I absolutely love because Thomas was my favorite character in this series, and I am starting to sense a bit that there was a little bit more than a, you know, mentor-mentee relationship happening between Darlington and Alex. Like maybe there's a little bit of a romance sparking potentially, which I really hope is the case because I would honestly love to see the two of them get together. But yeah, I think now that I'm about halfway through, I'm like really starting to get into it a little bit more than I was at the beginning. I feel like I was just like reading it because I had to read it and just getting through it. I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool, whatever. And now I'm kind of like really starting to get into the story a little bit more because we're trying to find Darlington. There's another like crime that we're trying to figure out. Well, there's like two crimes that we're trying to figure out. There's a lot of mysteries, a lot of secrets, a lot of things that are still left to be discovered. So I'll update you guys later. Also, can we just take a minute to talk about this cover before I end this update? This cover on this book is beautiful. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna get to reading this because I need to finish this bad boy tonight. And it's like already almost 9 o'clock, so I'll see y'all later on the next update.
I forgot I was supposed to be doing reading blogs while we were reading the two books that we picked for our back to school ones. So I am over now halfway through Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So far, I mean, I'd heard this book was a pretty slow burn, and it is. It's almost 500 pages long, and like I said, I'm over halfway through, and there really hasn't been a lot happening. To me, that's too much, and it has been too much. She spends a lot of time talking about this Yale and the secret societies in Yale. So there's a lot of setup about Yale. There's a lot of setup about the secret societies. A lot of names being thrown around that don't seem to have anything to do with anything. There's also been a lot of info dumps of backstories, which I think was completely unnecessary. It just really bogged things down, and I don't think we needed the details. And they're not like flashbacks necessarily where it like goes back in time and then the scene plays out. It's really just like pages of summarization. So there's been a lot of that going on, which I think wasn't quite necessary. This also is supposed to be Leigh Bardugo's first foray into adult fantasy, and it's not. It reads very YA, and I think the themes that are being discussed are pretty YA in my opinion. And it seems like the only reason that this is being classified as adult is because of the violence and some of the the situations. There's been a couple situations of sexual assault. So there is a lot of trigger warnings to go along with this book. That doesn't make an adult book just because there's a certain level of violence or gore or what have you. So it's not. It's still the writing, the characters, the situations, like I said, the themes all read very YA to me, which is fine. It's kind of irritating when a book is being classified as adult simply because of the situations that happen. And I mean, I've read some YA books that get pretty gnarly sometimes too. So I don't think that's necessarily, a good qualifier. Anyway, the writing is okay. It's just really bogged down. So far, anyway, I think this book could have cut a lot and lost nothing. These, well, like I said, the info dumpy backstories, all the information about Yale and such, not necessary to the plot. Introduce them as they come up for the story reasons, but seems more like setting a scene. And I guess if you like that sort of thing, then it'll be good. But so far, I've read well over 250 pages of not a lot happening. So that makes it pretty boring, kind of. But the story itself is intriguing. I think it would be great. There's been a murder, and our main character, Alex, has been put in a situation where she kind of has to handle some of these things on her own, and she's trying to figure out if this murder has anything to do with any of the secret societies. And that part of it, when it happens, is pretty good. Just not a lot of it. So far, I think, there's the start of a good story. So I'm kind of hoping for the second half that things speed up a little bit. Maybe we can quit setting the scene quite so much. I don't really care for Alex myself so far. I don't know. Darlington so far is my favorite character, and he's barely even there. As part of the present, he's not even in the book. So his part is all in like different flashbacks and such. So but the reason that he's not there is kind of interesting, and I'm kind of interested in finding out what's going on. And that part so far has been okay. There's just too much fluff involved. I think we needed to cut the fat on this and get down to the good kind of meat of the stories. But anyway, so far it's not bad, I guess. It's just not really holding my interest because it just goes off in too many directions with too much information. I'm also a bit put off because there has been two situations of sexual assault, and I really don't think they were necessary at all. I think you could have gotten the same impact, the same trauma without sexual assault. And so that's why I kind of feel like it's gratuitous, and I don't really appreciate that being used in that way, but it is what happened. The other thing is, I think Alex's character is a bit unrealistic at this point because it describes her as she had a rough childhood because she could see these grays, these ghosts, and had a hard time with them. Of course, just the usual that would go along, but also because these grays could physically interact with her and hurt her. So there should be quite a bit of trauma involved in that, but there's really not. And it says that in her childhood, she used drugs to dull her senses so that she wouldn't, perceive the grays quite so vividly, I guess. And yet there's something happens that she ends up in the hospital, and that's when Yale comes to recruit her. And when she goes to Yale, it's like, no drugs, no more drugs. And yet there's no withdrawals, there's no detoxing, there's nothing talked about for addiction, nothing. So it seems a little unrealistic to me. But as she's trying to navigate Yale and trying to navigate doing her job and things like that, that's pretty interesting. But I don't think her character is very realistic, so I'm not really following along with that. But maybe we'll see more of her past things kind of start to play into the story later on. I don't know. We'll see. But still have a couple hundred pages of this book to go, so we will get back to it.
Okay, so hello, Greenji. You want to come say hello? I'm gonna join my little review. Okay, so I finished reading Ninth House today, and I am still unsure how I feel about the book. I think I'm leaning towards giving it 3 stars. 2 or 3. Where do I even start with this book? So, the concept of Ninth House, supposed storyline, all of that, like, it all sounded so interesting to me, and I just feel like for some reason this book just fell short in delivering on what I thought it was supposed to be about and what it, like, promised to us as readers. I read somewhere that this was Leigh Bardugo's first venture into writing, like, adult fiction novels and stuff like that. To me, this book still read like a YA. That kind of was like a moment for me. I also didn't really ever come to enjoy Alex's character. She had a couple of moments where I was just like, yeah, okay, like, that was really good. Like, where I was like on her side or whatever, but for the majority of the book, like, I never had any feelings toward her. She could have died in this book and I wouldn't have cared. Darlington, on the other hand, even though he was probably one of the lesser characters, him I cared about. Like, yeah, I wanted him to come and be in the book more and all of that. I definitely really enjoyed his character a lot, but I think it's kind of sad that his character was the one that I enjoyed the most, and it was one of the, like, smaller characters in the book, so that just wasn't great. I feel like the book also had, like, a lot of things happening without having things happen, if that makes sense. Like, we would go and there would be, like, a big moment, a big action scene or whatever, and then nothing would happen for a long time, or, like, it was this, like, really big build up to something, and then the big thing that we're building up to happens, and it's just like, that's it, like, whatever. That wasn't that bad. There were some, like, oh, that's just, like, way too easy of a solution moments that I didn't really care for too much. And there just wasn't a whole lot of, like, I feel like there should have been moments where I was just, like, when the action scenes were happening, where I was just so into them that I was just, like, I was trying to read so fast to get through them because it's like, oh my gosh, so much is happening, like, this is crazy, like, what's gonna happen next and all that, and I never had that feeling. Never had that feeling, and there were so many opportunities for things like that to happen in this book, just because, you know, there were supposed to be some pretty big action scenes, and they, you know, she was trying to lead up to the big moments like that, and it just never really hit for me. So, I don't know. I will probably still read on in the series because I think that we're gonna see more of Darlington in the next book. But if that hadn't been the case, I don't think I would continue with this series. I don't know. Hopefully the next book is shorter. I feel like this one could have been cut in half and it still would have been just fine. So, yeah. I don't know. I didn't love it. So there we go. Another instance of Amy not enjoying a hyped book. Moving on from Ninth House and moving onto The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. We'll see how this one goes. So, hopefully this reads more like an adult thriller than like a YA, you know. So we'll see. But anyway, got my pizza rolls in the oven, and then once they're done, I'll probably get started reading. So we'll catch you later.
I finished Ninth House earlier today, and pretty much as per usual I felt through this whole book. I really don't know quite how I feel about it, just not yet. Truthfully, the ending did not save it for me, but it wasn't bad. I think it just kind of went on too long. I'm not going to be spoilery in this because I'm not sure if we're going to do that yet, but it was
it was something. There was choices made, and I think it went on too long. I think there was too much in it. It just, I think it tried too hard, basically, which is what I think happened throughout most of the book. I'm thinking I'm still probably in the 3-ish range on this book, maybe even a 2.5. I think there's good bones there. There's just way too much fluff, and that continued through the end as well. And in the end, when the villains, there's more than one, it was just too much. There was a huge monologue from one of them, and that was just more than I could take. But it was just too much all the way around. And so it was a little hook at the end that almost makes me kind of want to read the second one, but I don't know if I will. I think it's another kind of chunk of a book, and I don't know if I want to wade through it all again just to find out. I might just read some spoilery reviews or something and see what happened. But anyway, that one is done. And since I kind of finished that, I decided to jump right on into The Maidens, excuse me, which is our second kind of back to school book. This one is set in England at Cambridge. I'm about 38% in so far. So yeah, really close to kind of the halfway mark. This is a much shorter book, but yet it just hasn't been much happen yet. The beginning, it really turned me off from the beginning. Like, there's a prologue that features the main character, Mariana, and it's obviously set at some point in the future, and basically she's like staring off into space and thinking, I will remember everything and it will become clear to me and I'll get him. Whatever. So then, to follow that up, we start right in with Mariana again, of course in the past from the prologue, and there's like, she just lost her husband a year ago, and there's a full 3 pages about her grief over losing her husband Sebastian. So that's an interesting start. I don't really know what that was about. Anyway, as it goes on, shows a little bit more of her daily life, and then she gets the call from her niece Zoe, who is at Cambridge, and there has been a murder, and Zoe believes that the girl that was murdered was her friend Tara. And so Mariana packs up and goes to Cambridge. And Mariana doesn't think that things are going the way they should be. The police have arrested Tara's sort of boyfriend, but Mariana believes he's innocent. Her niece Zoe believes he's innocent. And even though there's really no proof of this boy killing Tara, they have him arrested. And so Zoe begs Mariana to stay in Cambridge and to basically, I guess, help her figure out who killed Tara, what happened to Tara. So they're on this journey. I just really don't like the writing in this book. It's overdone. It's over-described. It's angsty and very dramatic. And then there are at least 2 chapters so far. The chapters are really short, which is a good thing. That keeps the book moving along. Excuse me. There's been at least 2 chapters from the villain's point of view, and oh my gosh, are they overwrought. It's just wow. Just wow. Talk about like mustache twirling. I don't know. I don't like villain point of views in the first place. I think they're just meant to, like, I don't even know what they're meant for. They never make sense to me. They never add anything to the story for me. And these are just not well done. It's like whoever this is having this like mental break. There's I I don't know if it's supposed to represent a dissociative disorder of some sort, but there's two sides of him, and the good side is being kept down, and I don't know. There's just so much angst to it. It's, I can't stand it. So I'm guessing I'm probably not going to like this book, and I don't know, at least it's short. Chapters are short. I'll get through it quick, I hope. Right now, of course, the premise of The Maidens, like I said, is this murder, and in Cambridge there's this really charismatic professor, and he's got this little whatever groupie club of 6 girls that are called the Maidens, and they've got this little clique going. I really don't know much beyond that right now, but Zoe thinks that this professor is the one that killed Tara. I don't think the professor killed her. I think the girls did it. I think he had the girls do it, and it's all on this kind of background of Greek tragedy. I think there's something to do with Persephone, probably, who was called the Maiden. I think that's where some of this is going. I don't know. I'm really not too into this. I really don't care at this point. Like I said, we're halfway through and really not a whole lot has happened. We've just been following Mariana around. She kind of talks to a few, I don't know. There's just so much fluff in here in regards to talking about her grief over Sebastian. It's just constant. Which, whatever, but dang, you know. Is that what the story's about? I don't know. I guess I'll find out. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll all start to tie in. But right now, it's just way over the top angsty for my taste. So anyway, that's all I got to say on this one at this point. I'll check in later. Probably going to read some more tonight. Maybe I can actually finish it tonight. I already read almost half of it. So we'll see. Anyway, that's it. Talk to you in a bit.
Good morning. I did not, in fact, finish the book. I did not even read all that much more last night, so I'm going to get started again today. Hopefully, it's supposed to be kind of a slow day at work, so I can sneak in some reading time while I'm working. I am going to say this, though. I no longer support my theory that the professor put the Maidens up to killing Tara. I don't think that happened. Now I think maybe it's Creepy Fred. Or maybe the professor is controlling Creepy Fred. I don't know, but I think Creepy Fred's a little too creepy, which probably means he didn't do anything because he's being set up. But I don't know. I think maybe Creepy Fred and his premonitions maybe have something to do with it. But like I said, I'm going to try and read a little more this morning. Hopefully, work will be slow as I expect it to be, and we can get some of this out of the way. It's not Creepy Fred. The book just tried way too hard to convince us that it is Creepy Fred, which means, of course, it's not. I don't know. And you know what? I don't have another theory, because you know what? I don't care. I really don't. I don't care who did that. This book, wow. Okay, so, the writing's kind of leveled off. It's not quite so angsty and dramatic as it was before. But, you know, the other stuff makes up for it. Like, Mariana gives me a headache. She's supposed to be some, you know, really intelligent, competent psychotherapist that runs around like a teenage Nancy Drew, like, talking to everybody. Of course she thinks it's the professor, and she tells everybody. She is not subtle in any way, shape, or form. And, how this book treats psychotherapy and therapists. Are you kidding me? She has a patient. This educated, licensed psychotherapist has a patient who is stalking her. She didn't report it. He is starting to have violent tendencies, talking dangerously. She didn't report it. Self-harm. She didn't report it. She throws a first aid kit at him and leaves. And that's not even to talk about, like, how they talk about psychopathy. It's completely nurture. These people are made because of childhood trauma, and of course, because they're a psychopath, they're evil.
I mean, I still don't think the professor is the one that did it because, I mean, it's way too obvious. But truthfully, with the amount of time that this book is spending on the professor being the murderer, he better have something to do with something, or this whole book is just crazy. I don't know. What else? The niece, Zoe, she's kind of a bitch. I don't know. She wants Mariana to stay. She wants Mariana to help her. But she's sometimes just so casually cruel to her. It's just icky. I don't know. Seriously, are we setting Zoe up to be the murderer? Good Lord. Whatever. Anyway, it's just still a whole lot of Mariana running around being a dumb butt, but telling everybody, and creepy Fred. And she keeps going to like men's apartments that she thinks are murderers to have like private dinners. What? God. Talk about the too stupid to live. But anyway, I don't know. I don't like this book. At least it goes fast. I think I don't know, somewhere else 70% in. I didn't even look, but it goes fast. Short chapters, which sometimes are almost too choppy because you barely get into anything. There's still the chapters from the villains, the murderers' point of view, which aren't quite as angsty, but still, I think are just adding nothing except trying to make you think, like they talk about growing up on a farm and having a dog, and then all of a sudden you find out Creepy Fred grew up on a farm, had an abusive father, and had a dog. Whoa, no way. Oh well, anyway, I see no other point to these letters at this time. I don't know. Maybe he'll pull something, the author will pull something brilliant out of his ass and make the ending spectacular. I don't know, I'm not seeing that happen at this point, but anyway, that's my feelings about it. So I guess I'll read some more and I don't know, we'll see.
Okay, we're back.
We are.
We are. So,
we haven't seen each other's vlogs at all, but we have had some little discussions, so I think we know.
Yeah.
Kind of.
We know
a
where
general
each other
idea.
stands
Yeah.
on the books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's safe to say that we both agree that this probably wasn't the best one.
No.
No.
No. It was not.
Yeah. I was so disappointed by this book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I wanted to read Leigh Bardugo stuff for a long time because the Grishaverse is, like, everywhere.
Yeah.
I was expecting this to be really good because everyone talks up Leigh Bardugo,
Mm-hmm.
like, very highly.
Mhm.
And I think that she's probably a great YA author.
Yes.
I could definitely see
Yes.
that. But this was not an adult fiction.
No,
No.
it was not. And that was my biggest issue and something that does tend to irritate me greatly is when YA authors come out with their first adult book and it's not. And that irritated me so badly because it read very YA. The main character was very YA. Both, well, if you consider Darlington a main character, sort of. Because he was a perspective character.
Yeah.
There was POV for him. But it all read very YA, except, oh my gosh, look at all the violence. That must make it adult. And it doesn't.
There would be, like, these big trauma, like, trigger warnings
Oh,
galore
yeah, there's
in
tons
this
of
book.
trigger warnings for this book.
And it would go through and it would have something traumatic happen, and then there's no follow-up onto how that...
Oh, and there's no...
Everyone's just fine after that.
And they're just fine.
They're just fine.
There was no point to it, except for shock value. And the gore that happens, I didn't think it was that bad, honestly.
No.
It just seemed like every time something like that happened, it just was like Leigh Bardugo trying to scream, see, it's adult. And I was like, no, it isn't. I've read worse in young adult books, honestly. But also, I don't think it's spoilery to say, because in the beginning, you know, this story is about Alex. I can't remember her last name because it really didn't matter.
Stern. Alex
Stern. Yeah.
Galaxy Stern.
Galaxy. She was in California. She had always been able to see ghosts, and she's recruited by Yale because
of her ability to see
of her ability to see ghosts in in this Yale,
Or I guess they call them Greys.
Greys, in the secret societies of Yale can do magic. And there has to be a third society at Yale that kind of supervises them, keeps them in line. And that's who recruits Alex. I have a cat and a dog in the room now. Yay. So while she's growing up, she has like no support, nobody to teach her anything. She's abused by these ghosts, and so she turns to drugs to dull her senses. But there is literally no impact of drug use as soon as she leaves California for Yale.
Right, no withdrawal,
None.
nothing.
And apparently she was using drugs to dull her senses so she couldn't have as much interaction with the Greys. But that's not a problem anymore because now she's at Yale.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's, for me, that was just full of stuff like that was like, again, drama for drama's sake, which we all know I hate. And it just literally made no sense. You can't be raped at 12 years old and not have some trauma involved in that. You can't be a heavy drug user and not have any effects from that. You can't be using those drugs to self-medicate your problems and you're still dealing with the same problems, and yet you all of a sudden need no help. It just makes no sense. I did say too, I do think there are the bones of a good story here. Mm-hmm. Like the magic system that involves the secret societies was really kind of cool, although I didn't need every single detail about it. But I do think there's good bones to this story. But Lord, how many pages was this?
Almost 500. It's like 450 something pages.
It was about 200 pages too long.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I'm like, they could have cut this book in half.
Easy.
And it would have been fine.
Easy, because there's so much fluff. And the ending sucked balls.
Yeah.
It was so dumb. Anyway.
Better luck next time.
Oh, and I'll tell you another thing I can't stand, and both books did it. You have the prologue that starts out somewhere in the future where you can tell that, like in Ninth House, it was Alex, and she was hiding out, and she was wounded, and I don't know, like 2 pages worth of describing how she's hiding out. I mean, she's basically squatting in this, I don't know, apartment, I think. And Darlington's, like, accounts had never been shut down since, well, he had accounts that were still open. And so she was, like, ordering DoorDash off his accounts and, like, wouldn't go out, hadn't showered, had a wound that was starting to get infected. And I think there was something along the lines of, you know, wondering, how did it get here? How did we get to this? And you know, you're like, I don't care. I know you're already going to have a hard time. It's a book. I know something's going to happen. I know bad stuff's going to happen. I already know that. I don't need a prologue to tell me, oh, Alex got in trouble. No shit. Both books did it.
So safe to say you won't be reading book 2.
Probably not.
Okay.
I did say the hook at the end almost had me. But I honestly think I'll just go find a spoiler review and read that. Because I'm not sure I can wade through another 500-page book where only 250 pages matter.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up skimming it and then miss something I should. Yeah, I don't know. No. Are you going to read it?
I said that I kind of want to, just because it sounds like Darlington might be more in the book. And I really did like his character.
That was my thought too, was getting to see what happened to Darlington and how he would come back in the book. And it almost got me. But the way they went about the ending, as far as introducing the hook, the way it was written, it was enough to interest because it was about Darlington, but the way it was written, it was just like, oh gosh, this is just going to be more of Alex being Alex, and I just don't think I can handle that.
That's That's fair. That's fair.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You can tell me.
I will.
Tell me all about it.
I will tell you.
I think I get so disappointed because, I mean, I like YA fantasy, some of it, and I like it. I like, obviously, fantasy's my favorite genre, but I'm like, just write an adult fantasy. Go read some adult fantasy and then write a book about it. You know what the vibes are. It could have been. It could have been about, I mean, it was to some extent about corruption in the houses and in the college, but play up on that. Have your character have her having gone already through, well, detox for one thing.
Yeah.
How about sending her to rehab before we whisk her off to Yale?
Mm-hmm.
Have her. It was like her priorities and her way of thinking were very young adult. And it's like, start having her transition into adult things. Have some character growth. You showed what a messed up teenager she was. So show her starting to become a competent adult.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't. You did not see that at all. And I think it was meant to show Alex as this really tough, go get him kind of character, but she just came across as a pouting kid. A bully, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like her. And I saw no character growth for her at all.
No.
None. So, I go read some adult books and then read an adult book. I think she's probably very good at young adult. I have not read it. I've watched Shadow and Bone on Netflix, but I have not read her books. I'm assuming she writes very good YA books, but
Yeah.
don't you? Sometimes you just want to say, don't do it. Just don't do it. Stick with what you're good at.
Right.
Okay, that's stupid. I'm ranting now. Okay.
Okay.
And I still have, the worst book to go.
Yeah. So speaking of the worst book for Kelly, Maidens, the second book.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we have some differences
We do.
because Kelly
Hated it.
and I gave it 4 stars.
Why did you like it? Tell me why you liked it.
Well, I thought it was. I honestly, the part that I liked the most about it is that I didn't predict why things were happening. I was still trying to figure it out through the whole book, and it wasn't like with some of the other thrillers or mysteries or whatever where I figured it out before I reached the halfway point, and then the rest is just I know this is coming, this is boring, whatever. The whole time I'm trying to piece it all together, and so that's why I liked it, just for that reason. And I thought that I liked the writing. It was a fast read. I loved the short chapters.
Mm-hmm.
I read this book in a day, and it wasn't I wanted to read it. I don't know. That's why I liked it. And I did predict who the killer was fairly early on, but not being able to predict the reason why, even though I hated the reason why, that's why I gave it 4 stars. Just because it wasn't as predictable, I guess. I don't know. That's my main thing that I look for with thrillers and stuff. As long as you can keep me guessing, then you're doing a good job. Because I like to think that I'm pretty good at figuring thrillers and stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let it out, Kelly.
I did not like it. 1 star. I would have given it probably negative stars if I could. It had the stinking prologue, again, first of all.
Yeah.
And it was a worse setup prologue than Ninth House was. But it was the same kind of prologue. Starting in the...
I thought this prologue was better.
It was worse. Because she literally is sitting there staring at this heater going, I am going to relive everything and I'm going to go through it all and I will figure it out and I will get him. Why can't you just say chapter 1? I mean, you literally just took a page. I gotta stop saying literally. You took a page for your main character to tell the reader there's gonna be a book here. In the beginning, especially, the writing was so overdone. I mean, oh my... gosh.
I liked it. It was so dramatic, and that's why I liked it. And I know that's why you hated it.
And that's why I hated it.
Yeah.
Because it was dramatic for no reason.
Oh, but
it was like,
it's a thriller book.
it was like an angsty sort of dramatic, which is, so no, I didn't like the writing. And that leveled off after the first bit, but it never went away. And it really made me feel like the author was being pretentious. Because the writing just, it just felt like him going, see what a good writer I am. Also, the beginning was a 3-page introduction to Miranda, the main character. Mariana. Thank you.
Hated the book so much, can't even bother to remember the character name.
Why would I? Yeah, because I keep calling her niece Zoe Eve. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Zoe.
No, the other one. Miranda? Mariana. See, can't remember for 5 seconds. So Mariana, we get a 3-page introduction to Mariana's grief over her husband who died a year ago. 3 pages, mind you. 3. The next several pages are about a support group that she runs. And this is where I started having trouble with she's a psychotherapist. She does group therapy. This is where I started to run into trouble with the way the book treated therapy and psychologists and such. There was an entire section on running the group, which was not necessary in all. All it did, I did read later that this author studied psychotherapy and then worked in the field for a bit, so he should have done better. But I think those few chapters in his book was his way of showing off how much he knows about psychotherapy. And there's a lot of that in the book too. Lots of like paragraph long descriptions and explanations about therapy. In this group, there is a man who has fixated on, what's her name? Mariana. Like fixated on her. And he's becoming stalker love. He has stalked her.
Yeah, he is at
and she knows. She knows that he stalked her. She never reported it.
No.
He is making inappropriate comments and has been for a while. She's not reported it. In this particular scene, he shows her where he has harmed himself. She does not report it. She throws a first aid kit at him and basically says, I have to go. I'm not sure if at that point it was supposed to show how unstable Mariana is, that she can't even do a good job as a therapist anymore, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't. So she's supposed to be a really intelligent and competent psychotherapist who can figure things out. No, she's not.
No.
She's really not. When it gets to the murder mystery part of it, she's running around Cambridge like I think I called her a teenage Nancy Drew, talking to everybody. She's got one person in mind, and only one person in mind, and literally asks people straight. There's no subtlety to it at all. And these people go running right back to this guy and telling him, and she just keeps doing it. All of the characters were just cardboard cutouts. The story made no sense, because when you get to the end and you know who the killer is and why, which blew my mind, and not in a good way.
No.
And then you look back, the plot does not support it at all. There's another thing I can't stand, points of view from the villains, because they never make sense. They never add anything to the story, ever. And these, as they went along, changed, so that by the time the end happened, the very beginning chapters from the villain, they don't make sense. They don't support it. They don't support the end. The timeline of events and the past events don't support the end. I was just saying earlier, it felt like he started out writing one book and then made a decision about, oh, that's not the way I want it to go. So he changed and started writing more. And then at the very end, he decided, oh, I think this person should be the killer. And so he just wrote an ending. It was like 3 books smashed together. So it didn't follow. Nothing followed. the book tried so hard. It tried way too hard. There was so much time spent on the professor and the maidens that never led anywhere. Never meant anything at all. And then that disaster of an epilogue.
Yeah, that was pointless. That was thrown in there just so that there could be the crossover between The Silent Patient and this book.
Yeah.
Because there was no point to it.
None at all.
It was a waste of my time to read.
And Mariana was supposed to be this little, like, quiet, she liked to draw attention to herself. Mainly she works really good in groups because she can just be part of the group instead of, like, picked out as an individual because of the group dynamics and all that. And yet, throughout the book, she would just, like randomly walk up to people and go, hey, what do you know about?
Yeah. I don't understand how she thought that was good. Like, that was one thing when I was reading it too. I'm just like, she knows that these people are involved with the professor. And you're just gonna walk up to him and start asking all of these, like, intrusive questions.
Yeah.
Without any type of, like, trying to hide why. It's like, no wonder he's starting to come after you. And, like, it's just like, this makes
and no one
sense.
asked her to do this.
No.
No one asked her to do any of this except Zoe.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it.
And her cover as to why she was doing it was so easy to, like, disprove or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously? Like, there's just no point. Like, maybe, how about you just, like, let the police handle it instead of tampering with their crime scenes and causing a ruckus for no reason. I will probably be changing my rating because, so, like, there wasn't a lot in the book I liked. The only thing I liked about the book is that I didn't predict the reason why.
Yeah, you didn't predict it because there was nothing to support it in the book. Once I found out who and why, I started going back through the book again to try and figure out where were the clues that I missed. Because I am a gullible reader. I generally don't guess. I mean, it could be as obvious as anything. I could not find anything.
No. There really wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that stood out.
No.
Even a little bit. And literally, I'm just going to say this guy writes shit women characters. Just stick with writing men because you can't write a female character or female circumstances to save your life. Just saying. That's it.
I think that's enough ranting for us.
Probably so. I mean, honestly, it wasn't so bad that I had to make myself sit down and read it. Like you said, the chapters are very short.
Yeah.
And they do go, sometimes they're a little too short. You don't even have a chance to, like, get into.
Oh, I'm happy with that.
But
I love short chapters.
Went fast. I read it fast. The only reason it took me a spread over several days is because I just didn't have time to sit down and read. But I could have finished it easy, like you said, in a day.
Yeah, it's easy to finish in a day.
It's again one of those books, just don't think about it. Just don't think about it.
Yeah. Which
and
is
you're
kind
fine.
of
like this one.
It kind of goes against the point though because
I know it's a thriller.
You're supposed to think about it.
I read a review after this that said it was a one-line review that said no thriller has any right to be this boring. And I agreed wholeheartedly with that one-line review. Because that was the other thing. There was no point I was scared in this book.
No, there wasn't. There was never any things where I was like, okay.
Like no jump scares, no tension. Like, oh, I can't read this. I don't want to know what's going to happen. No. Nothing. I thought, okay, he's going to pull something out of his ass that's just brilliant and make me go, oh, man.
Yeah.
No. Well, I think it's probably safe to say I'm not going to pick up a book by this author again.
No. I think I'm done. I've hit my limit.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm done. I'm going to be done.
We're going to be done.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Those are our thoughts on these books. Safe to say it was probably kind of a failed experiment for, you know, our back to school reading.
It was, yeah.
We might have done better if we would have done required reading, I think.
Oof. Maybe.
Maybe.
Probably. Probably. I don't know. Probably so. At least, yeah. At least those books, you know, there's something good about them because they've stood the test of time. Our battery is dying.
Yeah, so we need to end this.
We need to.
So, anyway, yeah, join us for our live book club discussion of In My Dreams I Hold a Knife next Sunday.
Next Sunday, 3-ish o'clock. Read with us. You have a whole nother week to read the book, and then join us for that.
Yeah, should be good. I have high hopes for this one, so hopefully we'll see. It is my pick, so I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
But yeah, if you guys did enjoy watching this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that red subscribe button down below the video and join the Everyday Adventurer family so you can see our lovely faces every Sunday with beautiful book content.
That's right. And since we don't have a lot of time, all I am going to say is that you can find more book content as well as a plethora of other things on her channel, like home decor and home renovations and cleaning and organizing and travel and all of that stuff you can find on her channel as well. So go over there, check it all out, and join the Everyday Adventurer family.
Yeah. Anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are the Everyday
Epic.
I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.